Hey. Hey you. Yeah, you there. Do you want a new friend? No? Well, too bad. Here's Briony, the main character of my new story, Beneath the Rind. She's a young girl who lives outside of town, and she doesn't have any connections to anyone. She spends most of her time in the house and is kind of lonely. So by the time she gets the letter saying she's been invited to the baking contest, she's pretty surprised. This story was intended for animation because the tone is very whimsy, and I imagined it in a world similar to the TV series Hilda. And I remember the first time I watched it. I've never actually watched the full thing. I think I only watched the first two seasons, maybe. I don't know how many there are, but it was when it first came out, and I really liked the art style and just the use of color, and that's kind of what I use for inspiration for just kind of imagining the story. So when we first meet Briony, I wanted all the colors to be very cold and muted to kind of reflect her isolation, and then by the later half of the story, when she starts, or even sooner actually, when she starts interacting with other people, and slowly becomes more comfortable in the new environment, the colors become more vibrant, and she becomes more alive with the story, and yeah. And then, okay, so for her name, almost all of my characters' names are, related to plants or flowers. So yeah, I think I only have one character whose name isn't really related to a plant, but Briony is a type of climbing vine. Hold on, let me recheck this. I'm gonna say this and then I'm just gonna be wrong. It's probably an invasive species too. No, that's not how you spell Briony. Briony. Okay, oh, yep. So, Briony, spelled differently, but it's a climbing vine, and it's poisonous. Cute. But fear not, my Briony is not poisonous. I thought the name was fitting because we watch her character arc go from her starting out alone with nobody else to then beginning to climb through the story and starting to kind of, bloom into her character and join the others. And I also really like the name ever since I read the book Atonement by Ian McEwan. And in the movie inspired by the book, Briony was played by Saoirse Ronan, and she's definitely been my headcanon for this character ever since. Yeah, I don't know, she just looks like a Briony, personally. But yeah, I was just happy that I could fit the name in and have it make some sense. But it's just pretty. I like the spelling. I don't know. And then for character design, despite being the main character, she's the one that I put the least amount of thought into her character design. I'll be honest, I'm not a fan of character design all that much. And she didn't help the case, but I did a sketch of her within a few minutes. But she's just a very simple character all around. And that reflects in her character design too. And I feel like there wasn't a lot to say with that. So she wears a simple dress and then with an old jacket over top. And that's kind of like her coat of armor. It's clearly been through a lot. It's been with her since forever, it appears. It's, patched up. And she never takes it off. Not until the end. And at that point when she takes it off, it's kind of like when she's comfortable enough being herself, and she's not hiding who she is anymore. And the coat is her past, and that's still there with her, but just no longer restricting her, or just kind of, it's still there, but it's not all-encompassing, and she's begun moving forward. She's the character that has spent so much time trying to blend in with everybody else that, you really couldn't do anything much with her, and any character design couldn't be too flashy. It had to be simple, practical, and that's why I gave her a low bun with bangs hanging out, and then the bangs are kind of there to shield her face a bit, so she's not completely exposed. I think she was the easiest because, obviously being the main character, we see her story, and we see her story being told in so many different ways that by the time I got to character creation, there's nothing else I needed to tell because I had told it through everything else. Versus some of my other characters who are a bit flashier because they don't have as much explicit time to tell their story, so everything has to be said through the subtext or their character design and every other small thing. But yeah, that's Briony, my quiet main character. Her strength is the ability to grow in new environments. For every character who opens up, there's another who closes themselves off. And that's where Sinclair comes in. Briony's story is very much related to Sinclair's. Briony's is about beginning again, and Sinclair's is about what happens when you can't. But that's for another day. I'm very excited to talk about him.